All right, throughout this course, several of the coding lessons you're going to do are going to be presented through a video. And so before you do any of the lessons, I want to give you some tips for watching a programming tutorial. So the first thing is there was a huge temptation when watching a coding tutorial to open up your computer and try to type the code as the video was going. And what ends up happening is best case scenario is you get to the end of the video and you run your code and it works, but you have no idea what any of the lines of code do or why the program is structured the way it is. It becomes, if you're trying to type as you watch the video, it just becomes a copying exercise rather than a thinking and learning exercise. So first tip I want to give you is if I put a video up, you should take your hands off the keyboard and watch the entire video before you type a single line of code. Okay. Every now and then I might put a video up, but that's a little bit longer. So maybe watch half of the video. And then when you think, well, that's enough information for now, rewind to the beginning. Okay. And then type the code for that half and then advance to the second half. Right. But in general, you should watch the video first. When you watch the video, have the sound on. If you get confused, you should pause the video, rewind, think. Okay. And on first pass through, don't ever focus on memorizing anything. There is almost no syntax or anything about a programming language that needs to be memorized. All right. The things that are important, you will memorize accidentally just through repetitive use. And the things you don't use as often, well, you'll end up, you'll know they exist and you just look them up when you need to. So nobody ever codes without having ample access to reference material, right? So we're not memorizing. First pass through a video, you're focusing on why, how something works and why that decision was made. All right. So when it's time to actually start coding, then, this is when I would watch the video a second time. On the second pass through the video, you can probably scrub through a little bit faster and, you've seen it once, so you can pause at key points and, pause the video, probably try to keep the video open on one side of your screen, your code open on the other side of the screen, right? And type, right? And type slowly. Now, last thing I would say is when you're typing code, right, you should test your code often. Again, don't just try to type the whole thing and then get to the very end of the video and then hope it works, right? If I make a programming video, there are going to be stages where you should be testing stuff. So, probably every minute or so, you should be saving your work and testing it and see if it's producing the results that I'm getting at that point in the video. If you wait till the very end to test, what ends up happening is you might have, dozens of lines of code and you try to run it and you find out that there's a problem somewhere, but there is just too much to look through in order to find your mistake. So we should always be testing as we go, because it's much easier to debug a handful of lines of code that solve a small problem than it is to debug an entire program where things at the top could be affecting things at the early lines of code could be affecting things 50 lines down. So, all right. Anyway, I think that's all I got for watching a code video. And if you have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, I think you're ready to start the very first assignment.